Donald Trump has approved the necessary permits for the Keystone XL pipeline. Now, of course, this was a huge issue for environmentalists, and it was an issue that President Barack Obama decided to rule against back in 2015 when he said no permit for the continued construction of the pipeline. Now, this announcement is part of a new era of American energy policy that will lower costs for American families, and very significantly is the statement from Donald Trump as he granted the necessary permits. Also keep in mind though that Nebraska, the state of Nebraska will also have to approve permits for this, and there are landowners who are against it, so we'll see what happens. So the bottom line, Keystone finished. We're gonna start construction when? That's what he said when he looked at the TransCanada CEO, Russ Girling, who replied that the company had some work to do in Nebraska. And Trump's response to him was, Nebraska? I'll call Nebraska. What? What does that even mean, right? I'll call Nebraska. Oh, I didn't know Nebraska had a phone number that I can, hit up and be like, yo, Nebraska, can you hook it up with the permits?
So look, there's a lot of amazing parts of the story. So that's point one, which is this Donald Trump character goes out there. It's like, okay, Keystone Pipeline, done. We're finished with it. And then the TransCanada CEO has to say, not exactly, Donald. We still have to get clearance from Nebraska. And you see the question mark there in that sentence that Anna just read you? Nebraska. Well, I'll call Nebraska. Okay, so you didn't prepare at all. No one told you, you didn't ask. Like, can you imagine you're president of the United States? You're gonna do a press conference before the whole world, and you didn't bother to ask, hey, are we done? And you just went out there and you blurted, oh, we're done. Keystone's gonna get built. And then they have to correct you like you're a freaking child, which you are. In the middle of the press conference, hey, Donald, yeah, we didn't get permission from Nebraska, you idiot.
It's only the State Department approving it. That's it. That's all that's happened, right? I mean, we didn't get the permits. How does he not know that? How does he not know these things? How is he unable to answer that question about what was in the healthcare bill?
So interesting thing about the State Department did approve it, but remember, under Obama, the State Department had put out a pretty lengthy report about the environmental damage that the pipeline could cause here in the US, right? And so what did the State Department, the current State Department, do? They used the exact same report, the exact same wording from the previous State Department with obviously a completely different outcome. So it's kind of like, okay, under the Obama administration, 2 + 2 = 4. Under the Trump administration, you still have the same data, right? 2 + 2, but it equals 26.
Yeah, so that's super important. That's the second amazing part of this story. So again, it goes to laziness and carelessness by Trump and the Trump administration, because that could lead you to lose in court. In court, you have to justify this because they're gonna get sued on it, right? And you have to say, no, we did a new analysis, and the analysis shows that in fact, it's not gonna cause environmental problems, yada, yada, yada. Now, if you're smart and devious and wanted to, or forget devious, let's say you're a right winger and you're like, pipelines are awesome and crude oil and let's mess up the ozone, it's gonna be fun for everybody, we'll all get tans, whatever you believe. You wouldn't do it this way. You would be smart enough to go, oh, we did a new analysis and here's the results, and it shows you that it's not worth it. But they're so lazy and incompetent that he's like, okay, we're set, we're done. We just take the Obama analysis, we don't change it at all. We add some TransCanada things in there, okay? And then Nebraska, what's Nebraska? Don't worry about it, we're done. Now, the analysis shows we're right, they're wrong. Well, if you're a conservative, you gotta be pissed because this might have cost you the Keystone Pipeline on a day you should be celebrating.
Right.
He doesn't care to do the job. He doesn't, he's a child. He's so over his head. He doesn't understand any of this, and he's too lazy to figure it out. And too insecure to ask important questions.
But to call Nebraska isn't easy, and that's his way. I mean, it's like, oh, you can't get a table, Mr. Trump, they're booked tonight. Oh, let me call them. I mean, that's really what it's like to him. And this
that's such a good analogy.
Nebraska is not a maitre d'.
Give the guy Nebraska a little extra.
Yeah, give him a 20. Give Nebraska a 20.
That's for you. You're gonna take my call there. I need a pipeline. But the thing that the Keystone Pipeline couldn't happen unless we repealed the ban on exporting oil, right? We used to have a ban in this country on exporting oil. It got lifted in the spending bill in December of 2015. And so isn't that why we're able to do this in the first place? If we would have just kept that, and Democrats signed on to that. That was Barack Obama. So are those two things connected together? Because this technically isn't the United States oil, it's coming from Canada.
It's coming from Canada. Yeah, I don't know the answer whether or not those are connected. I mean, this was basically pushed by the conservatives as a jobs.
There's no jobs.
And
35
there are no
jobs. They say
yeah,
35 jobs.
Permanent jobs. So there will be temporary jobs, but a small number. Let's quickly go to graphic 14. So Keystone Pipeline would create about 3,900 construction jobs if it was built in 1 year, and that's according to the State Department. The number would drop to 1,950 jobs if it happened in 2 years. But when it comes to permanent jobs, only 35 permanent employees would be needed to operate the pipeline, along with 15 temporary contractors. So again, it's not anything that's really going to help the American people. And I find it interesting because as Donald Trump is applauding this and congratulating himself, he also said the following, graphic 12. The years-long fight over the project demonstrates how our government has too often failed its citizens and companies over the past long period of time. Okay, no. What you're doing right now is a perfect example of how government has failed the American people. Okay, this is not a popular pipeline. That's the reason why landowners in Nebraska don't want it. Environmentalists don't want it. People don't want it. This is honestly one of the dirtiest types of crude and does the most damage in terms of climate change. People don't want it. They don't want it. And so you are being influenced by corporate interests. That's exactly what has failed the American people. But again, I don't know if he's even smart enough to realize that.
Well, look, I've got to jump in there with a number of points. One is that in this press conference, they have TransCanada's CEO talking about how it's great for America. It's going to create thousands of jobs. No, dude, it's great for you, and you run TransCanada, not Trans-America. So don't pretend here that you care about American jobs. You're not even from this country. So I don't know, by the way, technically the CEO, I don't know where Russell Grilling's from. I know your company's not from us.
Right.
Yeah, so my point is that they always pretend like as if these companies are all American, like corporate America. They're not corporate America. Most of them are multinational corporations, and they don't care about American jobs. Now, if you're saying, no, but those are, hey, you guys are probably lying, you libs. The number's about only adding 35. You know what, I'll give them the temporary guys. 50 jobs in the long term, right? That comes from the State Department run by Rex Tillerson, former CEO of ExxonMobil. So wow, the former CEO of ExxonMobil approved this pipeline. I didn't see that coming. And then you can't say we made it up. That's your homeboy. Rex Tillerson saying it's only 50 jobs.
And those numbers could date back to before Tillerson was there. But the point is also,
but then change them,
because the pipeline is essentially built. So all those jobs that they're talking about, temporary jobs, thousands of people working on this thing, it's already done, right? I mean, except for these stretches, it's basically a built entity, so it's not even gonna create that many temporary jobs.
Then finally, isn't it funny how our politics works? So when we're bringing in, to Jimmy's point, dangerous oil from Canada, which backs up what Anna was saying, this is actually emits 18% more greenhouse gases than regular types of oil, because it's considered literally called dirty oil, okay? And crude oil that is harder to extract and is less efficient and damages the ozone more. Okay, all that stuff, but that's okay, we could bring that in.
Yeah.
But when we have drugs, which are the same exact drugs from Canada coming in, they go, oh no, that's dangerous. Because those drugs are cheaper, even though they're the same exact drugs. They say, no, that's dangerous. Don't trust the Canadians. Don't export their drugs. But when it's their dirty fuel, the Canadians are great. They're looking out for us, bring in their dirty fuel.
When did you think of that?
Earlier today.
That's great.
That is good.
That's really good.
I'm putting it in my act.
Young Turks membership creates independent media.
Believe me.
No ads.
Believe me.
All the shows.
Believe me.
On demand.
Believe me.
Support independent media.
Believe me.
It's awesome, tremendous. You'll love it.
Believe me.
And by the end, you'll be thinking,
I'm like a smart person.
tytnetwork.com/join.